My dear civil service aspirants, in the scheme of things, the preliminary exam is coming first, mains comes second, and personality test comes third. So, in your priority also, you keep prelims in a top priority. Next, down the line comes mains. Next comes the personality test. This also is true for your preparation and the time that you allocate. But I'm going to tell you over the next maybe half an hour to 45 minutes to tell you that the priority should be the other way around. Please understand that the people that who finally appear for the interview, they are all coming in the small bracket of 30 to 40 marks. The top fellow who is going to appear in the interview and the last person who will qualify for the interview, their marks difference will be 30, 40. So it's very, very important that you should stand out in your personality test to really make the cut. In fact, despite you are scoring very high marks in the means, if you are not able to score very good marks, suppose good marks means, I'm sorry, bad marks, I can say the other way. If anybody scores less than 130, he can be rest assured that he's in the danger zone, even though he might have done very well in means. On the other hand, if somebody has scored more than 180 marks in his personality test, he is almost in the green zone because his ability to get into the selection range will be far more good. I will also explain to you why is that interview is something that UPSC would like to guide you in a different way. You don't bother about, most of us are bothered about what board or UPSC is looking at you. You slightly go away. Once you selected, then you are in the service. At the higher level, unlike the lower level, most of the lower level functionaries like clerks, superintendents, managers, even guested managers, they are all supposed to be meeting mostly through their pens. They write and they convey their ideas. It's only at the highest echelons which the civil services exam clearers are going to occupy. There it is mostly oral. Now, out of my 40 years of experience in bureaucracy, I can tell you 40 to 50% of our life or our what I call official life is spent in talk. Now, you are in a meeting, you are being reviewed. How do you convince the person in a meeting who is reviewing you that you have done well? You might have done well, but how do you convey and convince him that you are done well? You are addressing a set of people, say for example, investors. You have called as a deputy commissioner, you have called some investors to invest in your district. It can be a district investors meet. How you are able to put forth the potential of your district and make them feel that they are welcome. Let us look at a slightly different situation. Say two rival groups are quarreling. It could be religious, caste, community groups. Now, they are at their throats. You are going to address them, convince them, and try to tell them that they should be talking to each other rather than at their throats. You are representing your state on an issue. For example, a person from Karnataka is going to convince about the interest of Karnataka as far as Kaveri waters are concerned. Are you able to convince? So, the central government appreciates that you have a case. So, most of the officers in meetings, in conventions, on the fields, for example, a set of farmers have come on the road, blocked the road because the prices of tomato have come down. You are supposed to talk to them, convince them. So your ability to deliver, your ability to review, your ability to convey the policies of the government all depends on how well you speak. All the senior officers are expected to speak under formal environment, an informal environment, on the streets, almost on the fields. So how well you communicate. So the panel will be looking at you, how well you are able to talk and convince. So there are certain things which are very, very important. Before even talking about your content, how do you deliver? When you talk, is there that you deliver in a tone which is, first of all, audible. Secondly, there is no confusion. It should, the word should flow, and there should be a logical set of words coming out, and your words should match the situation or the ideas that you are conveying. These are all the things that they would like to, how well you articulate. For example, in a situation where you are supposed to speak for about 20 minutes on, say, industrial policy of your state or renewable energy policy of your state, can you keep the interest of the audience for 20 minutes, or are they going to be off? So please understand that it is not that what you are UPSC is looking at you. It's how well you are able to deliver goods when you join the service. So I'm not talking for the present content, but I'm talking of your delivery, your tone, articulation. How do you articulate your voice? How does your ability to convey your idea in total clarity? Now, as civil servants, we are all supposed to ensure that we look at any item or any agenda 360 degrees. That's the first thing. Second, when you put forth your thing, there's a system in it. There's a flow in it, so that you don't tell disorganized way, but you tell in an organized way. It could be a simple question to maybe something very complex, factual or even opinionated. Can you organize? Can you justify your things? That's what they are trying to look at. So please understand that they are not looking at you as a candidate, but actually they are looking at you as how do you perform during your entire 40 years of service in the government. So please understand. Now, the problem with interview is you are all bothered about the content. So I have to read, I have to put all this material, etc. But where do you get your opportunity to deliver? For example, your written examination or your either films or mail, you can practice yourself. But when you want to deliver it to somebody and ask, how does he feel? You can't do it yourself. Secondly, you can't suddenly practice speaking just in 5 days or 10 days when the mains results are announced and your interview call date comes. So your articulation should start much earlier. Your ability to speak with clarity, with no emotional tones, but still modulating your voice. to suit the type of words or the images or the mental makeup that you want to convey. So now you have to start preparation, of course, looking at the way I have been able to look at several candidates. You have to start your preparation for interview long before even you start looking at your prelims or mains. You must be able to speak. You must be able to impress through your speaking. Now, for that, mentally, you must be able to organize your thoughts. See, look at the way your whole interview is in 30 minutes. In that 30 minutes, on an average, they ask you about 18 to 20 questions. This is on an average, varies from candidate to candidate. Now, 20 minutes, 20 questions, 30 minutes means 1.5 seconds, 1.5 minutes, roughly 90 seconds. Some you may need more time to answer if it is where they need an explanation. For some, you may not. For example, they may ask you just list the issues between Indo and China relationship. You just list, short answer. But on the other hand, if they explain what are all the various issues and how do you look at it that India could overcome all those issues, then they are expecting a bigger answer. Now, first thing that you must understand is here mental makeup is first is to learn to listen and hear. If you are not attentive, even for a moment it goes out, you are not able to catch the question. Because in the question itself, they are indicating what is that they want. They want a short answer or they want a long answer. Now, very short question, what is your name? Over. You need not have to think. But anything else, suppose they are asking you, list out 5 issues between India and China. First thing is, even though it's a short answer, you have to immediately think of how maybe spend about 3 to 4 seconds. In your mind, you list them out and then you have to prioritize. Because as an officer, when you have to list out a few, you have to list out important one. So that means you must organize your thoughts. And if there is an answer a question which calls for a longer answer, you have to strategize or organize your answer, like for example, an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. So you must learn to do this. So all in your mind first. So then you have to do that. So that means you must learn maybe for the 1.5 years in which you are preparing for your civil services, you must practice the way I am telling when you are speaking to maybe your teachers, your fellow aspirants, anybody with whom you can speak. You will be surprised to know that you don't get many with whom you can make a serious conversation. That's one of the problems in our life that you can't experience. So now you have to, in your life and your system, if you develop this thinking, one is 360 degrees, put your thoughts into a organized way, something like an introductory discussion and conclusion. You can start thinking on these lines and talking on these lines. Then you are mentally prepared for the interview before you even your mains results are announced. So it's not that you just now. Though not many set parameters are there for you to follow, basic ethics that you have to follow. There are certain things that they normally expect from aspirants who go before the board. My suggestion to you is, for example, let us start with the dress that you are deciding to wear. If you want to go with a tie, please practice wearing the tie in advance, because if you are wearing it for the first time into the UPSC, what will happen is you are conscious of your tie, not the questions or the answers. Similarly, if you have decided to wear a coat, you, you practice wearing and speaking. I don't think there's anything compulsory about wearing or not wearing, but if you feel little smarter wearing this, then no problem. You can wear it. But practice. You can go with a clean shirt and so on and so. But I don't think you should take a liberty of wearing a jeans. Not that I'm saying that people haven't tried jeans with a t-shirt, etc. Because you are going for a formal post in the government administration. You represent the government at the state level, district level, and to various stakeholders like income tax payers, industrialists, etc. So now, certain way of greeting when you enter the room, then seek the permission before you say. So these are all the things, and then we are not expected to raise our voice or show our emotions, because basically as bureaucrats we always think and then open our mouth and then act. So these are some of the smaller niceties. If you can do that, of course, I have also seen some candidates, some of my aspirants have put forth their views strongly also, but not, as I told you, with a very raised voice or quarreling type, but they have ensured that their standpoint they are able to justify. Now, one problem some of the people who come from the hinterland is that their ability to speak in English. Some of them opt for language other than English. Now, if it is Hindi, normally it won't be a problem, but if it is language like Tamil, Kannada, etc., they give you a translator. The feedback that I got from several of my people, in fact, several of them had to stop him in the middle. Not that they don't know English, but they feel not comfortable speaking to the board in English. They were they were giving answers in Kannada, but they found out that the translator was not able to convey the spirit. Things are lost in translation, the spirit will be lost. Only the skeleton will be forwarded. In fact, one of the candidates who met me immediately after interview, he told, after two questions, I asked translator to stop. I myself started answering. So be careful. You watch what is he telling, and if he is not able to convey with this same passion, your commitment and passion is something you alone can convey, then in that case you must opt out and you can speak yourself. So there is no problem. You can say that I don't want translator, I myself will try in English. So he found that he was far better in that than. Normally when you attend the interview board also wants to look at you in 2-3 ways. One is they would like to make you comfortable, and at the same time they want to find out how uncomfortable you are if they shake you a bit. They want to know how fast you can regain your poise. They disturb you deliberately, and then again they come back to your area of specialization. Because as I told you, you have to, on the streets, you may have to convince people, you may have to face agitations, you may have to face land order, you may have to speak to a bigger crowd, everything. So they want to know in such a situation, supposed to be a flood, you have to address people to leave from their homes and come out somewhere else, or you want people to disperse. So now they want to know when they disturb you also, how do you speak? So the type of questions, if they want to comfort you, they go back to your own person thing. They will ask about your own native, your own hobby, your own school, etc. And your own subject that you have studied academically, or you are what you have taken and the options. They want to bring you to the comfort zone. Once they have asked you some tough question and they have disturbed you. And on the other hand, if you are very comfortable, they want to move you to uncomfortable zone. So then they will ask you some tougher questions. Or when you answer, they will say, no, you are wrong. That is not the correct view. So now, few things on which at least you must be fully prepared is about yourselves, your family, your place, and whatever you have written in your two forms, DAP 1 and DAP 2. If you are very sure about what you have written, please be sure. If you have written about a few hobbies, sometimes you write hobbies to impress. But much more than that, if you get through the interview, you must prepare thoroughly about, or you feel even after the mains exam that you are likely to get, start looking at those hobbies and learn little more. Some deeper questions they may ask you. Similarly, allocation, you are opting for the various services. Sometimes people, in fact, one of the candidates was asking, he said, what did you answer when the UPSC? He said, I asked some friend and he asked me to do it and I did it. It doesn't convey. Whatever the way you have opted for the service, please understand that you should show that you have applied your mind. Basically, you all have to apply your mind at any point and at every point of time. About hobby, I would like to recount two people with whom I had a mock interview, and one of them got selected, another did. You can understand. Both of them had written that their hobby is to watch movies. So they asked, what sort of a movies that you enjoy? Almost similar lines, the question. One fellow answered that I've seen Parasite. It was a very beautiful movie. It says how people are exploited. Now, this is one answer. I'm not saying that it's a right or a wrong answer. Right and a wrong comes maybe in the factual one. Now, the other candidate, he answered that there are two types of movies, sir. One is commercial and another is what we call offbeat films, non-commercial. So there, one is in commercials towards the box office. In the other one, the director is trying to convey his feelings, his impressions. And I'm interested in this offbeat movies, sir. I've seen some of the movies. These are the movies that I've seen. And some of the, of course, he happened to be from Karnataka. He said, sir, we had a very great B.V. Karan and Girish Karnad. Today we have Nartya Chandrasekhar, Girish Kasuri, who are all people who experiment and come out with that. And I've seen these two, three pictures. Chomanududi was my best one. Obviously, you must know who got selected. So, you must be able to organize your thoughts, and when you are talking of your hobbies, you must feel more comforted when you are talking. So, as far as current affairs is concerned, most likely in the last, in maybe about 10 to 15 days before your interview date, and of course, sometime even on the day and the morning of the interview also, some of the current affairs, which they are very fresh, which has a lot of impressions. So kindly ensure that you prepare with all of that current affairs. Whatever else you for example, today if they ask you what happened recently in Uttarkashi, if today is the interview date, they expect you to speak a little bit about that. If they speak what is happening in Gaza, If they ask you 20 years ago, they don't ask you what has happened in Somalia. So they don't ask. So current affairs about 15, 20 days and reasonably good one is something that you may always have to prepare so that you are. Now, the interview is basically an admixture of your content as well as the delivery. Of course, you can call it as content container, but delivery is more important because how effective you are, whatever you know, are you effective in conveying. So, one of the best ways for preparing the interview is what I call manthan. I think manthan is a very good word. Whenever you are free, and even when you are traveling in a bus, etc., you do some sort of a brain churning and think. For example, on Indo-China relationship, you know material, you can speak for about 10 minutes effectively. But in an interview, it's not 10 minutes. Hardly you can get 1.5 to 2 minutes. You can allocate if the question wants it. So, how can you explain something in, you can speak for 10 minutes, how well you can articulate the same thing in 1.5 minutes? Or if they ask you a very short question, like I asked you list, how you look at it. For example, if they ask you the list three items between India and China as of now, you will immediately say trade imbalance. The second thing is the hot borders today. And third, they support of Pakistan irrespective of the merits of the case. But if they want you to explain, how do you explain to them in 1.5 to 2 minutes? Very difficult. You always feel that after coming out of the UPSC hall, you feel that you have missed the very, very important. Now, let us look at one of the important things is if you know some facts, it will add value. It is like garnishing a sweets. If you know a few facts which are very relevant, very crucial, you can add. Suppose you are from Maharashtra, they ask you about Krishna water thing and what is the dispute now between Andhra Pradesh and Telangana and how Maharashtra is. If you know some of the total flow in Krishna, if you know it, then what was the allocation to Maharashtra, to Karnataka and Andhra and Telugu, and what is the issue between Andhra and Telugu, Telangana and Andhra. If you know a few facts, you can put it across. Now, when you are putting such facts, you must be certain of that facts because you are volunteering on your own. But if you speak like that, it makes it. For example, if they ask you what is the trade issue between India and China, if you know that we are importing something like 101 billion, we are exporting something like 16 billion. So trade deficit is so much. If you know the fact, if you can put it across, it makes. And if you know, if it's a longer type of question that they have asked, then you can say the types of imports, the type of exports that we are doing, what is the future scenario. Now, if you don't know the facts, if you know the facts, you are going to be you impress them that because they know that you are able to understand the importance of the numbers. You don't know, no problem, doesn't matter. But don't try to bluff around because they'll be knowing little more than us. Let's be very sure those people who sit on the other side, they're all done years of service. Now, sometimes they ask you a factual question. They may themselves ask you a factual question. So, if they ask you, for example, cost distribution in your state, if you know it, then you must be able to tell. If you don't know, you have to say no. Don't try to bluff it. And facts, if they ask you, you have to answer through the facts. Then you can't try to put anything else. They ask you something about caste distribution in Bihar. If you say, no, sir, I don't like caste, it's not good for the country. No, they are asking you the fact. You are going to just tell you the facts. Now, one is about facts. The other type of question is your opinion. When they ask you about your opinion, Now, when they ask you about opinion, they are expecting you for a, you can't say yes or no. Do you feel that there should be a reservation for women? You say, yes, sir. That's not what they are expecting. What is your opinion on reservation for women? They are expecting you that you will share your opinion. Now, when you are talking about opinion like this, one, you must be willing to tell the ideas of people who are speaking on behalf and the people who are speaking no. What are all their issues that they are saying that they need for a reservation? Some people who say there is no need for reservation. And then where do you stand and why do you stand there? So that is something that you should look at. So, for example, if you are talking about employment, labor participation of women, if you can say, sir, forget about rest of the things like legislature and other things, but they all finally lead to labor participation. So, labor participation is very, very important. Our women labor participation is very low. As and when bigger chunk of population works, they contribute to GDP like that. You have to tell your opinion. Why do you justify your opinion? So, for somebody says, what are all for and what are all against? You need not even name them. You can just say that one set of people have this view, another set is this, and I go by this. These are the reasons for which I go. Sometimes it could be very controversial also. So then, how do you, are you, even if it is a controversial, you should always think what are all the people who are for and who are against and where do you stand? Controversy comes only because there are two sets of opinion. Please understand. And what is your opinion? So, in fact, one of the persons last year, I think, he was asked, uh, what is your opinion on corruption in India? The man answered, there is no corruption. In fact, members kept quiet. After two questions, they had asked, once you join the civil service, what do you want to do? He said, I want to reduce corruption. They said, just two questions back, you said that there is no corruption in India. And now you are saying that one of the aims is to reduce the corruption. So, talking about corruption is something that is a controversy. If you say it's corrupt, then they will ask you, how do you? If you say there is no corruption, they can also drag you over the coal. So that type of a thing. Suppose they ask you, how is the religious minority treated here? If you say everything is bad, then you may have to justify. Whenever you say no, nothing, everything is fine, you have to be able to justify. So when there are strong for and against, that is where your balanced mind comes into picture. Maybe individually when we speak later, I am able to, you can ask some questions to me and how do we answer, because I don't think in a general thing like this. One of the things that people always ask is, if I say no, what will happen? If some of the questions you don't know, I have seen over my years that some of the candidates who have got selected, almost one-fourth, 20%, 25% of the questions they have said, I don't know. So don't get disheartened because three questions you didn't. I have seen such people, they have got through. There's no problem. One or two questions that you convey, if you can show that you are systematic, rest of the things will carry. So there'll be something which will really hit you and make you look like a very organized man, a very balanced man. So, and that you are able to impress the other side. So, two or three questions, four questions, you didn't know, you said, I don't know. It may be even continuous, but never lose your heart. In fact, some of the people, They have all done 4 years, 5 years of their preparation post, or they are taking exam 4, 5 years post their degrees. In fact, another thing that I noticed among engineers mostly is in the last 2 years, engineers are mostly taking Kannada or Andhra. Of course, I am not suggesting to you Kannada or anthropology. Now, if the UPSC asks them about engineering, obviously they would know only remember some of the smaller things, basic things. They may not remember anything more. They have not answered. It doesn't matter. You need not have to answer, as I told you. Even if you don't answer about the degree on which you have become eligible to apply for UPSC, don't know also, no problem. If you can brush brush up something, no problem. But if something has happened recently on any of your basic subjects which has caught the national attention, state attention, or for example, something like now chip manufacturing, you know, uh, of course, I am not a technical man, I know the other chip, but this chip that they are talking, everybody wants to manufacture chip in India, that for this purpose. So if you are an engineer, you are in that field, possibly you have to look at it. Right. Now, if you are an architect, architectural engineering, then designing of a tunnel, now that recently it has happened, possibly they may ask you as an architect, what are all the flaws that you expected or you feel that could happen. So please at least whatever recently happened, if it has some relevance to your subject, uh, they may ask you. For example, now the satellite bandwidth being allocated is something that is going on presently. So if you are a telecommunication or communication and electronics, this is something you can't say, sir, long ago. Uh, so, of course, one question that several students, I haven't seen many people being asked this question, but somehow people still feel that they may ask you, uh, why civil services? Now, people try to give a very idealistic answer, but be practical. Whatever motivated you to get into service, you can be very plain and simple. And if you know a good answer, then it's fine. In fact, as I asked Mr. P.C. Hota once, which is the question and answer on this line, which he felt very good. This is, I think, Jyoti from Kerala, Kedar. So she's an MBBS doctor. They basically ask this more for doctors because on doctors, the public would have spent a lot of lakhs of rupees, not crores, to make them into a doctor. And they join civil services a waste. So P.C. Gota said that you are a doctor, aren't we wasting by selecting you? So the way she answered, of course, don't give this answer, just now UPSC would have known this. She answered, sir, if I'm a doctor, I can look and cure the symptoms. But if I get into civil services, IAS, I can cure the cause itself. Causation factor itself I can tackle, not the symptoms. He said one of the best answers that he has done. More so for a doctor, this question is asked because you are such a doctor and we need a lot of doctors. Why do you? We are not asked for engineers. Uh, so these are some of the things. Some of you have asked the question. So now for the one last question that somebody has raised with me is, does interview board, I want to read, it's a very interesting one. Does interview board give importance to previous academic records and marks? No, they are not really concerned. They would like to know from your academic records whether you have absorbed whatever you have studied. Has it gone into your personality at the most? Now, in the personality test, they would like to know how well you articulate. So they want to know how well you speak. how you can bring situations under control. How do you convince your boss that you have done something good, right? How, if you are asked to do some extension work, say, today we are all talking of organic farming. Not 100 farmers are gathered, and you are asked to speak on organic farming as a collector. How well you can convince? So, this is, for example, you are an IPS officer, police, you have called a lot of schools and you want to tell them that these are the security measures you have to take up. How well you can impress upon them that you are serious. So those are the things. I don't think uh, it matters. In fact, I sometimes jokingly say that lots of BAs also get into IAS. Lot of IITs also get into. So IIT and a BA. And BA not necessarily even from a very great college. So BA people are also same for UPSC and others also. Very important question. Does the final rank of a candidate solely depends on the mark of personality test? I don't want to use the word solely. I would like to tell you that it is majorly depend. I, uh, I can tell you that it decides a lot about your being in the list and also getting into this selection. Majorly, very majorly. If you are above 180 or if you are above 200, wherever you are, you will get into the list. So I don't want to use the word solely, but majorly. If you are number one in the written exam, written marks, then maybe even if you have scored around 110, 130, you can. But I can tell you, personality is something that you have to practice. Uh, Now, these are the questions. Any of you have a question, you can also share it with me. Maybe in my next round, I can give. When I'm talking of practice, interview practice is very, very critical. As I told you, how do you prepare? Self-service, like Darshani culture in Bangalore, where you do self-service, is possible for prelims and mains. But interview is not a one-man show. In fact, somebody told me stand in front of the mirror, ask questions, and it was never really motivating. But I was very sure that, like any other thing, interview you have to prepare. There's no practice, practice, practice. Either it's prelims or mains. You would have done lots of practice in the mains, lot of practice. You would have answered several question papers, both for prelims and mains. How do you do it here? I stand before you. How would I practice? I come from a family. My mother was second standard fail. My father was third standard fail. But both of them were able to read Kannada. I wanted practice interview from my parents. I wrote questions myself every day for about 30 days. On the day my written exam results, mains were announced, and my interview date, till I left for Delhi. For 30 days, I made my parents sit in the night, 8 to 8:30, sincerely. I used to sit in front of them with my coat and tie because I had been told that coat and tie is a must. And I used to give them questions written in Kannada, and I used to request them to ask questions randomly. So they used to ask questions, I used to answer. Of course, they didn't know what I was speaking, but and only thing is I was answering to them in English because they don't know English. But I got a tremendous practice of 30 days, every day half an hour. So that means 15 hours of mock interview with my parents. So if you have a will, there is a way. I may give you one or two mark interviews. Normally one, because on the date of your thing and your interview date, only one. But if you look around, there are a lot of people. So I owe a lot to my father and mother, second standard, third standard, failed, to give me mock interviews. Please look around. You will get a lot of opportunities. Practice, practice, practice. I wish you all the best. Please send your questions to India for IAS. Next time I can answer your questions also. Thank you very much.